Hey, book digitizers, Peter here. I just wanted to do a quick video giving you an update of sort of where I'm at in my book digitization process. Um, and I think maybe give you a couple of tips to some of you that maybe are where I'm at, where it's like you're not digitizing books every day. You know, you're not sort of going through your library. You've got most of it done already. That's where I'm at. And because of that, I didn't renew my subscription for Adobe Acrobat. I deliberately didn't need to. I mean, people hate subscription-based software like Adobe Acrobat because you got to pay for it every month, and that's true. I understand that. On the other hand, if you only need it for a few months, you don't have to buy this expensive software that you're only going to use for a few months and then never use again. So anyways, what do I do now without Adobe? Because as you might have seen in some of my other videos, Adobe was a big part of my processing. I would use Adobe for optical character recognition. I would use Adobe for file size reduction, and I would use Adobe for making the table of contents of the book. So let's start with OCR. So what I do with OCR now is I just use the OCR feature that is built into the NAPS 2 software. So as I'm scanning, it's doing the OCR. And is it perfect? I don't know. Is it good enough? Yeah, probably good enough for what I'm doing. Then when it comes to file compression, what I do is there's a couple of things that I've tried. I'm going to show you some of the results and maybe give you some ideas. So there is the ability to do online compression still through Adobe. So let me just switch screens here. If you do a Google search or Bing search for Adobe Acrobat Online Compressed PDF, you'll get a link to their online compressor, and you don't need an account for that. You can just drag and drop a file, and I don't know what the maximum file size is, but it was able to handle this file, which was like 150 megabytes or so. So I compressed it, and when you try to do that, you're given sort of three options for compression levels, sort of a minimum compression, a medium compression, and a maximum compression. And I will show you exactly what my results were in just a second here. So let me bring those up. So my original file size was 155.6 megabytes. On the lowest compression, it got down to 142 megabytes, or let's say at 8% reduction, at 92% of the original file size. At medium, it got way down to 38% of the original file size, and at maximum, it shrunk way down to just 12% of the original file size. And sort of you can see that graphically over here. But that's, of course, just the file size. What's the quality like? Well, let's look at that in just a second. But before we get to that, I want to tell you another thing that I've tried. If you have a Mac computer, if you don't skip ahead to the results, but if you have a Mac computer with Preview, which is this software built into all Macs that lets you view and mark up PDFs, you can do an export, and there's a few options in this quartz filter drop down on that export tab. And the options are compress and 150 DPI compress HQ, 100 DPI HQ, and 100 DPI LQ. I'm assuming it's high quality and low quality. And here you can see the sort of four results you get with those. Again, starting with the same original file size of 155.6 megabytes, you get down to as small as, at the maximum, 22% of the original file size. So not the same amount of compression as Adobe, but again, it's an option if you have a Mac, and you don't even need to be online for that. But what's the quality like? So let me bring up this screenshot. This goes from left to right. We have on the far left is the original file size. So you can get an idea of the quality there. Pretty good. And I'm obviously zoomed in quite a bit. And then going from left to right, the second, third, and fourth columns, these are the three Adobes with a minimum compression, medium, and maximum compression. And you can see this maximum compression. Yeah, it's shrunk it a lot, but it's really not that good. I wouldn't want to keep this. Certainly the medium one I think is doable. And then similarly, moving forward, the last four columns are the four outputs from Mac OS export. So just the general compress, and then the three levels of 150? Hang on one sec. 150 HQ, 100 HQ, and 100 LQ. And even at 100 DPI low quality, it's still better than the max compression from Adobe. It's still not great though. So I don't know. I could go with either one of those. I think in the long run, I'll probably end up using either, if I go online, I'll use Adobe's medium compression, or if I do output from my Mac, I'll probably use probably the 150 DPI, 150 DPI at high quality. So that those give you get a little bit more compression out of the Adobe than you do from the Mac. But again, if you're not online or you don't want to give your file to Adobe even temporarily for some reason, you can do it all from your Mac, if indeed you have a Mac. Now, what about the table of contents? I'm going to save that for the next video, okay? I've got at least one idea for that.